So, my kid and I, we're map watching. We actually did a stop last night on the way home by an outlet from the water plant. It's been high and murky, and I made a mistake. I stood up off a culvert about 25 feet from the water and just kind of lazily tossed down and out my jig. And on the second, actually it was the third, I popped it twice, and on the pickup I thought it was on a rock, and you know, I did a little let off and come back up into it a little bit to feel to make sure I was on a rock, and it pulled back. It took me by surprise. I had all this line out, and then I kind of half-heartedly set the hook, and I got it turned a little bit and got it up. I saw the mouth, and I was telling Theron, that mouth was probably that big. Had that been a smallie, that would have been a very, very healthy fish. Could have been a largemouth. Definitely looked like a bass, but regardless, missed that. But so what we're doing now is we've hopped a spot. Basically, we kind of picked up a spot. I was going up I haven't fished this part of it. Kind of relatively new to me, but we picked a spot, and so I was just obviously doing what we talk about, looking at that map, right? Looking at what's around it, and we found a way up here. There's actually it looks like an old straight like an old dam system that's just like a riprap and a bunch of stuff. So it looks like there's an access point to it. So that's what we're doing right now. So when we're back, we'll be there and we'll check that thing out. So this is where the spot on the map took me. Surprisingly enough, I've never fished this, but I am now. I just got a little bitsy bug on that with a yum dinger snatched off on the end of it. I'm just kind of ripping it because they get a bite through here, like a bait fish. Typically. So we'll see. It's very shallow. So now I'm just up here kind of dragging it, ripping it through this little bit of a current here. See if we can find something working across there. You know what I mean? Almost like a little jerk bait. I know it's a jig, but it's just kind of a ripping action. So there's blocks out there. You see all that shit out there? You probably can't see it. So this braid is older than my fucking grandma. And it's eating itself. But it says something about how good it is. It's caught many a fish. And keeps on ticking. What do you gotta say about that? Many fish and keeps on ticking. So I just keep going. I keep going until I lose fish. When I start breaking off or I get spooled out. Yeah, gotta, you know, rock. That happens every once in a while. Probably gonna leave that on the bottom. We'll see. So jigs are cheap. I'm gonna leave it there. So we'll go up here to this other zone that we know. It's good. And we'll go get it. So here we be now. This is where we ended up. I fish the stretch fairly often. I think you've seen me in it before. Obviously these are not ideal conditions at all. Muddy. Again, it's just not clearing up. It's just not, it's been holding the stain. I don't know how much clarity we got. Foot and a half maybe. But you know what? I am going to go out here and push the limits of this jig. I got it backed up with a little light colored grub to give a little flash with a darker top. And we're going to see what we can do. I think there's enough clarity, depending on where I'm at in the water, that they can see it. And I'll be able to get a reaction strike from that. Or a feed strike, whatever they're doing. I don't know if they're feeding. It's been kind of shut down due to the pressure, so we might actually have a good feed tonight. Well, so with that said, hopefully I can get something going. If not, I do have my casting rod, my 6-gill kayak special that I've been beating up out here. And I'm gonna probably throw that. I still got the worry going there for the other night. I think you guys were with me. Maybe not, who knows, I don't have any subscribers. I just sit out here and ramble to myself for mental health, but regardless, that's what I have tied on. And we'll see if we can make that work, if this doesn't work. That's the plan. We'll see. I typically don't throw through this. Typically don't throw out here. It's just too deep. Not too deep, but with the murk, not an ideal situation. So I'm gonna keep walking out through here until I get into a little bit shallower water. I pick up a little bit more structure. The bottom starts breaking up a little bit more. Oh, shit. And let's see what we can do. We'll be back with you. Might not be the right ticket. We might have to go aggressive with that blade here in a second, but we'll see. We will see. So maybe I'll share some funny shit from the Marine Corps. Why? Because they're kind of out there. I will omit names. I will try to keep it, add brevity to the story, because I can be bad about that. But so let's start off the conversation by saying, first and foremost, you know, the Marine Corps is almost like a big fraternity. So there's a lot of shenanigans, right? Especially in your lower ranks. Things happen. And there's a reason that a lot of vets have crude, dark sense of humors, other than some of the things we've been exposed to. But it's just kind of in our nature, you know. Number one, it's that type of person that does that. And then the Marines, right? You typically get your A personalities, A types, you know. We're fairly aggressive. If we, I don't know, whatever. But so one of the things that happens, right? You've heard of hazing, whatever we call it, but it's not really hazing. We never considered that. Good fun. I mean, paying your dues, coming up, whatever. So one of the things that happens, we did this combined arm exercise, which is in CAX. So that is 29 Palms, California, Camp Wilson. It's out in the Desert of Sand. It's a horrible place, but regardless. So you stay in these metal buildings called casemates. Kind of look like an airplane hangar without floors. It's all sand. We were in there and we were splitting it with the comm squadron guys, and there was a new guy, Lance Corporal. Actually, was Lance Corporal through the unit. He was in there, and you know, one of the things that happens to you a lot, you can get racked, right? So what is racking? Racking can involve a lot of different things. It can involve having racks stacked on top of your rack. It could involve you being so torqued up you don't realize that you're being moved and your rack stacked on top of other racks. It could be you get snatched up, taped down, moved. That happened a lot. But so you know, we were hammering on this kid pretty good, right? Again, nothing that none of us had experienced ourselves. Whether it happened or not is another story. That usually comes down to a lot of things, circumstance, whatever. It is what it is. But he wasn't taking it well. I mean, he started to freak out. You know, not everybody's the same. I mean, we know that, right? So he was running back and forth. He'd go up the skunk, back to the thing. You know, sergeant's there sitting back down, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. You know, we're telling him, we're going to rack you. Your ass is going to fall asleep. We're going to take you to the rack. We're going to take you down the women's head, you know, naked to your rack and stack your rack in the corner of the shower, women's shower. He was just tripping. But he'd ran his mouth a couple times, and one of the guys we were with didn't take kindly to it. I mean, he just did. And a couple things transpired through the evening. Some of those things you see, you're just, did I really just see that? So one of them was, you know, the kid had a big Gatorade bottle, and the Marine Corps, the MREs, they come with tea, right? People usually save them teas up and they mix it in those Gatorade bottles with water. You're always drinking, so. And he made a mistake of leaving this half full bottle of MRE tea sitting there as he went up to cry one time, and old boy wandered over there. I saw his back to me. I'm like, what the fuck's he doing? And he came back with a big grin on his face, and I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, I just pissed on that. Yep. he pissed in his tea, and you couldn't tell, right? He did mix right in. So I saw that consumed. Same night, same kid, same person. It got kind of worse. You know, it got to be where his NCOs and stuff were railing him about it too, just because of the way he was acting. And then he came back and he said something else to old boy. And about 5 minutes later, he was back over by his rack. Because, you know, we sat there and played spades off to the opposite corner. So he was over beating around. And what we saw next kind of horrified me, and I'll never forget it. But I saw him reach under the rack, grab this kid's shave kit. I saw a trowel drop, butt cheek spread, knuckles there dangling. And then I watched this guy proceed to de-sheathe the toothbrush and, yeah, basically gave himself you know, a prostate exam with the toothbrush. And then put it back in the container. Then back into the shave kit. Zipped it up and put it back into the rack. Yeah. So think about that. Just for a second. Because what you think happened the next morning happened. And we all watched him wander off to the head. And we all kind of snapped our heads looking at each other. And then 30 minutes later, watch him come back. After his morning shit shave and shower. Which included that device that we just talked about. Doing the oil check. Gotta love it. It's gonna creep us through there. Everything's just kind of laying over here next to the structure. All these logs and shit. Give it a nice, easy topwater rip. Sometimes I gotta get them to eat it. It's been tough the past couple days. Shit. So we'll see. There's the plop, right? It's got it too. I'm just not working it up there right now. It's one in there. I put every once in a while, put one in there. Right there. See? There's a fish right there. Kind of side swiped it. Damn it. Totally missed it, didn't he? Yeah, see, they're not committing at all, as you can see. I mean, he kind of just, that was like a body bump to it. It was weird. I don't know if you guys saw that. Sometimes you go back enough times and they can't resist. Because this isn't aggressive, right? It's kind of weird. I mean, you're passing back over a bunch, but still, you're not really beating up the water. As long as you don't throw it right in there where you're trying to go. I mean, that sound attracts them, number one, when it hits. It's not right there on top of them. And something tells me they felt the hard body or the hook. So. Do you see what I see, guys? I caught a picture of one of these the other day. I was on my kayak. I pinched myself up into basically a rock berm in between two cuts. Big old friggin' bandit was laying up on there. I see one over on that log too. We'll go up and snag a picture. It gets kind of janky deep, but I can get kind of close. You'll be able to see it a little bit better. Probably can't see it from here. Let me get my camera out so I can get a picture. On that dude. Oh, that's probably enough. Let's do it 2.5. Maybe I can. He might get janky and go in. Alright, so I want to shoot him from here. Let's see if I can slide up in here and get closer. I can't tell if he's facing me. No, I think he's upstream. So he might be able to get fairly close. I'm starting to get deep right here. I gotta be careful. I don't get too wet. Yeah. I don't know if I can get a little bit deeper. Yeah, it's about as deep as I want to get up in there. It's a pretty good hole. So what am I going to do now? I want to back off a little bit and I want to toss up my cove because I'm already up in here. The knuckles are already wet, ladies and gents, so I'm going to go ahead and stay up in here and whip one over in here and see if I get something up in that pocket. Maybe. I don't want to throw off in here. Ooh, I'm going to be careful on my bag angle to do that. Can't flip them too deep. Or pitch. Wow, I found another effing hole. Holy shit, it gets deep over here. There we go. Come across some of this stuff. I didn't realize how deep it was over here. Holy shnikes, I've never really been over this far. I mean, I've been right about probably where I'm at. I didn't realize it dropped off like that. It's kind of, oh wow, that was about a bad deal, wasn't it? It was about a bad deal. Because I had to swim. I don't lose $12 loads. Yeah, I do. I ain't gonna lie, I've lost quite a few fucking $12, $15 loads. But if I can help it, you know. Whoop, I'll probably catch that snake. I don't mess with that critter. You know, y'all afraid of these snakes. Look at that guy, he's just sitting there. He knows I'm here. He can hear me. I've been fairly close. And those are kind of, I mean, when I say aggressive, they're bold. They'll chase your bait, lures, fish that you have on there, tiny fish. I've seen it. Shit, I've seen them chase them up in the boats. But you know, they're benign. Worst it's gonna do is lay a bite on you that makes you bleed a little bit. Nothing you're going to the hospital for unless you get an infection. But that's on you for not treating that wound and obviously being close enough to that animal that you shouldn't have been, right? If you're close enough to get bit in the first place, you're probably wrong. Let's just be honest. That's not that animal's fault at that point. It's our dumbass human fault. I think we rule everything. As I said out here and rip lips on fish. Because it's smarter made. Whatever. I put them back. You know what they say, pain is only temporary. Pride is forever. Those fish can take pride knowing they survived the moose apocalypse. Oh my, I just coined a new phrase, guys. The moose apocalypse. Oh, moose apocalypse.